Today, I'm joined by Alina Aliyar. She's a Portland-based realtor, a seasoned storyteller, and someone who brings a lot of heart and humor to work that can be stressful and deeply personal. Alina has lived the buying and selling process across multiple markets, and she cares deeply about helping people get clear on what they actually need and hope for, not just what they're told they should want. I am so glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Our coworker, the man we love so much, content producer and technology manager, Grim, when I was talking about who I have on next, he was like, we got to have Alina. Because the storytelling aspect of what you do, we love watching you on the socials because you're so darn funny and you're real and authentic. My first question for you is for our listeners, is that we know how that works for marketing, right? But how does storytelling actually change the outcomes for your clients as well?
I used to do a lot of story coaching to have people produce. Look, I was producing a series of storytelling shows and having people get clear on what their own story is. It's a great process to watch, especially in most of the storytelling shows we'd produce. People were pretty vulnerable. And to go from being a victim or something sort of bad and transformative happened to you to own it, I have found that there's a lot of similarity when people are taking on something overwhelming, like buying or selling a house, where getting really clear about what are all of the things that you want, that you're scared of, that you hope for, what's been your process. And sometimes it's not just financial or the space you're living in. It's what do you hope for the future and what do you want your life to look like? So being able to help draw that out of someone in their own personal story has been tremendously helpful when I meet with someone and they need a little bit more holding in terms of getting through the process.
That's amazing. So walk someone through, for a new agent that's like, okay, I want to get better at really understanding what my clients' needs are, what their hopes and fears are through this process. Is there a framework that you were taught or that you developed from storytelling that you use now in your practice?
I think it's a series of asking questions. So I have a general intake for people of what they want. But it's also just stopping and sort of thinking about each person before I even meet with them of okay, where are they in their life? Where do I think they want to go? Mm-hmm. And people are always surprising you.
Talk about the process of storytelling with a seller, because I think most people think when you're storytelling with a seller, that means you're helping them market or you're telling a story. But what does that mean to you?
It's so hard for sellers sometimes to take themselves out of it. And they really want to sell their house as having been their house and their experience and what you use this room for and all that. And I think in storytelling, you do have to edit down your story to figure out what is your audience going to experience your story as. It's not really yours anymore in a certain way. It's you have to streamline it so people can follow it and make it meaningful for them. And I do find myself doing a fair amount of that, of having to kind of release in the same way that you would release a storyteller from their story to give it to the audience. You kind of have to release the seller from their experience in their home.
When you sit down for your initial buyer consultation or a seller consultation, how do you start that? How do you draw out those questions? Because I know a lot of agents come in and they feel when they meet with a client, they have to be presenting. Mm-hmm. I've seen that where agents will come into the office and they want presentation materials. And I'm like, well, I hope these are just things you hold while you're listening. It's about the questions. But so how do you begin to draw out, and what's the framework or process that you use when you're meeting a client for the first time?
It goes into different aspects. So if you think in general, there's sort of big umbrella categories of there's financial, there's timing, there's life, there's family, all of those sorts of things. And then just keep asking questions. So it's not never just how many bedrooms do you want? It's what are you using them for? What are aspects? How do you use this space like that?
Yeah.
And just keep asking more questions and being curious about people. Yeah.
and taking the time.
Yeah.
When you're working with the client and getting clear on what they want and you're questioning them, how do you prevent them from feeling overwhelmed or steering them?
Every time I meet with someone new, I'm like, you can ask me the same question 500 times and I will never get annoyed. And, I just remind them throughout the process of like, it's a big deal and it feels like just a financial choice, but it's incredibly emotional too. And there's all sorts of funny things that get brought up. And so just allowing people space to be a whole person and never feel embarrassed, I think is really important to allow them to not feel overwhelmed. And that goes also like with the information. Like, you might realize that what you tell me today isn't what you actually want. Because sometimes we don't know what it is until we're actually in the space and realizing that like, oh, this doesn't work for us.
And are you drawing, like you've moved multiple times, and that's something that I know that is a big part of your story when you're working with your clients. How is that process for you? What are the big learnings that you've had having gone through this process and relocating not just yourself, but your family?
So I've moved, as a, newlywed, as someone with a fresh baby, as two mess-making children, as across the country, as a divorced person, as all these sorts of different things. And each time that I've had to do that, it has been a drastically different experience. So I do feel like I've had so many different moving experiences myself. Um, and so just remembering that there's little nuances that you're scared of at one point in your life that you aren't scared of at a different point,
Mm-hmm.
or something that feels really important at like it is the most important thing at a certain moment, doesn't even matter at another moment.
And that must help you build so much empathy for your clients
Yeah.
when you're going through that process. What is something that you feel you've helped buyers and sellers identify with moving with small children? Because you raising a daughter and a son, and like you said, moving with them, it's a totally different experience to have to relocate an entire family than when we're just single or coupled. What are some of the things that you do to support your clients with families?
Really thinking about what they have to go to, especially if you're selling a place and you have small children. So I sold a place in upstate New York when my kids were 2 and 5. And I used to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning before showings to make sure everything in the house was perfect. And then we'd leave all day, depending. And so just being like, making sure they have what they need, they have a place to go, that there's so much to think about when you're a parent of small children and then when you are trying to get your house ready and on the market, that it's really nice to have someone who has your back and is thinking not just like, is your house perfect, but where are you going to be? How do you make sure that that everyone can just relax because it's already a stressful experience.
In which I imagine you're really trying to buffer stress for clients because you're going to need them to make good decisions to be able to get through the entire process. And someone coming in with too much stress even before the offer process can unravel everything.
Yeah.
Are there other brokers or service providers, whether maybe it's insurance or title or maybe totally outside of the industry, professionals that you look up to and have taken any lessons from about how they run their business?
I have a lot of admiration for people who don't shy away from like what they think is a moral imperative. I love watching people like actually do their values.
Yeah, integrity.
I think that coming into real estate, I really thought that you needed to be very beige in all the ways.
Mm-hmm.
I find it so delightful to see people operate and I don't know if this expresses it quite correctly, but like with color in all of their things, that they are exactly who they are and they're not closeting themselves or, they're still marching and standing up for what they believe in, or that they can be their fullest selves.
It's magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
So tactically, also being yourself, being authentic, showing up as you are is a way of giving permission for your client to show up as they are. And I imagine that builds rapport and comfort easily. And do you find it just makes your job easier?
Oh, yeah. It's so much easier. It's so much more efficient for people to just be like, oh, this is weirding me out or this is scaring me, rather than sort of beating around the bush around things and trying to dig out, like, why is this person not returning my calls or not, whatever it may be. But if someone can just be honest, like, I think someone was murdered in the basement. I have no proof. There's no signs of it, but this is what I believe. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Let's run.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have had those showings early in my career where I could tell the clients felt like they had to look at the house because I brought them here.
Yeah.
And to be able to just like stop in the entryway and be like, listen, if you're not feeling it, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Trust his instincts.
Yeah.
And I've definitely run from a house before where I was like, I don't know what's happening. I think it's haunted. You guys can continue. I'm out.
Yeah. I definitely showed a place once where someone was hiding in a bedroom and there was an axe by the front door. So we didn't stay there very long.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, my gosh. We laugh now, but that's so terrifying. Yeah. Humor clearly plays in a role in how you work. I love your videos. I always get such a kick out of having you at the office because you bring such levity and you're so fun to joke around with. How do you use that levity to reduce fear and stress without minimizing, right, the seriousness of what clients are navigating?
I don't know if I necessarily think about it. It's just part of my normal operating function.
Yeah.
I guess part of it is considering who are you laughing at or what are you laughing at? I think that it's always good when you're working with people that are going to be in a vulnerable position is to poke fun of yourself, because it makes it more, it's just easier to be around. And just things that are universal so that people don't feel embarrassed about something.
If an agent listening wanted to become more confident, more human, and more effective in client conversation this year, which I think are your such strong suits, what is one practice that you'd suggest that they start doing immediately?
Probably spend less time on social media. But I think just being able to be real with people, I think asking, like when you're in a conversation or being social with people, of asking 3 more questions before you say anything is always just being curious. I think asking for help is incredibly important because it, for the most part, I think that people want to help each other. And when you can ask for help and be vulnerable in that way, you can extend yourself. When you are able to be vulnerable with other people and ask for help, it makes you think about all those things and how to be gracious when you do offer help to someone else. It's not charity. It's not looking down. It's that we're just all people and we all need support.
And if you could go back to when you first got licensed, what would be the one piece of advice that you'd give yourself around building business?
Just be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I first started, I thought that I needed to be much more formal or tampered down or just, I don't know, that there's sort of a mold of like shoulder pads and well done hair.
Yeah.
That I really thought that I needed to be. And as I got further into things and just more comfortable in my skin, I've realized that I'm much more effective being myself. And that people want to work with exactly who you are.
I love that reminder. And technical skills, how did you build up the chops to be, really confident in that way too? That like you could meet people, your whole self confidently and also feeling like you could execute and take the best care possible of your clients.
I'm really comfortable asking for other people's opinion. So knowing what resources are around me, like relying on other agents and their expertise, because things do change all the time, both in terms of just how the market is working, what, different research says on whatnot. So if you have a good network of other agents or contractors or title people that you can lean upon and ask those questions, then it makes life a lot easier to do it.
And is that having those skills, I imagine, from the storytelling world, and you're probably counting on a lot of people to put together an event and a show. You just recently had an event, correct?
I did.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
So I used to produce a series of storytelling shows. So it's my old co-producer. He produced this show. He's doing a series of 7 shows in conjunction with the Portland Art Museum. So they're all at
cool.
Yeah, they're all at the Tomorrow Theater. The series of these shows is called Church.
Mm-hmm.
So each one touches on a different sin and then incorporates different artists, like performance artists, storytellers, musicians. There was a 20-person choir. And it sort of just goes and looks at the humanity of that's within one sin and how that's like just sort of embracing that is part of the human experience.
And I would imagine that also is a way that you build your sphere and your community. Are you working with a lot of people through your connections, through storytelling and theater and the arts?
A lot of artists don't have a lot of funds to be home buyers or home sellers. I don't know if you know this. It's,
yes.
We have an affordability problem.
We do have an affordability problem. And I started my business with a lot of musicians and artists, but that was 2002. And the pricing was a whole lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do end up getting a lot of referrals from people, though.
Because I imagine you're building trust pretty quickly when you're going through these kind of very vulnerable storytelling, art making. Where else do you find that your clientele comes from?
I do get a lot of referrals from social media, but in funny ways. So I had an old neighbor in upstate New York who referred her friends who were moving from San Francisco here to me. Or, I've had old teachers from high school reach out to me, and I grew up in Southern California. Old teachers from high school reach out to me of like, yeah, we're thinking about moving up there, but can we work with you?
And a lot of that's from your social media presence.
Exactly.
Where you're actually, my takeaway is when you go and see your social media, you are totally yourself and you're having a ton of fun. It's professional, but it's not, like you said, like you're putting on a presentation. You totally get you. Which must be, I can see that like for people that have known you through the past are like, oh, there she is. Trust her, love her. I'm going to send her some people.
I'm very grateful for that, yeah.
Any advice that you would give to newer agents trying to build their referral network that's worked really well for you?
Just keeping in touch with people. And I think it's a matter of looking at people holistically and what they're going through. So if it's something that's going on in the world that I think people should be aware of, like, some years ago it was, have you refinanced your home?
Yeah.
Make sure you do this. Oh, you don't know what this means? Then let me explain it to you. And just having conversations wherever people are at about what's going on in their life and what's important to them.
And is there a way that you like to keep in touch with people?
I do a lot of pop-bys. I like seeing people in person. I like feeding people a lot. I do invite people to storytelling shows. But I'm also someone who's like, let's just go to Costco and sit down on a couch and eat a hot dog.
I'll push the cart.
Yeah, exactly.
I would take you up on that.
Yeah.
Any last words of advice you'd want to give to agents that are looking to improve their business for this new year?
Show up in your community. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Show up as yourself. Ask people what's going on with them and what are they concerned about. Think about what you're also concerned about in terms of community and how to build that.
That is something as I was coming in here, the showing up, that I was thinking about you, how grateful that I am that you whether it's our company picnic or potluck and you show up with a dish and you're there and you're a quiet leader. You're fun and you're funny and it's light, but you're also like, you show up and you participate. And I feel like you're willing to be other people's audience as well as invite people in when it's time for them to be your audience. And I really think sometimes the simplest things, like just showing up for others are the hardest. And I see you do that all the time. And so it's no surprise to me that you're successful and that people learn to trust you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm really, really uncomfortable with the compliments.
I see you.
Yeah.
I see you.